Neighbors in North Nashville are on edge after dozens of shots were fired at the Overlook Ridge apartments in Bordeaux.
A family fighting for answers, but leaning on their truth.
We're not trying to find revenge or anything. We're not doing none of that. We are just trying to do what he called us to do, and that's love. And it's for praying for our enemies.
"34-year-old Charmaine Goodlow was a loving and resilient woman who, despite facing many challenges in her life, always maintained a positive outlook and strong faith. Her outgoing personality and infectious laughter had a way of brightening the lives of those around her. However, a tragic incident last year in which she was shot left her shaken and often on edge. Despite this, Charmaine continued to push forward, never allowing her spirit to be broken by the hardships she endured. Charmaine Goodlow was known for her generosity and compassion, always finding ways to give back, even when she had little to offer. Her resilience was put to the test last March when she survived being shot multiple times by an ex-boyfriend. Despite the physical and emotional challenges that followed, Charmaine's unwavering faith guided her through that difficult recovery. Her family recalls how she faced each day with strength and optimism, refusing to let her circumstances diminish her positive outlook on life. Even in the face of such adversity, Charmaine remained committed to helping others, embodying kindness and perseverance in everything she did. Sadly, a chain of events would soon occur that would change Charmaine's life forever. Just after midnight on August 27th, Nashville police responded to the Overlook apartments on Buena Vista Pike for reports of a shooting. Upon arrival, they would locate an unresponsive adult female inside of an apartment.
When police arrived at that first scene in the Bordeaux area, they found 58 shell casings between two cars. So it was in the parking lot to the entrance of the Overlook Ridge apartments, again, along Buena Vista Pike in the Bordeaux community. We're told the victim there was a woman. She was taken to Vanderbilt University Medical Center where she died. Police say she survived another shooting just a few months ago. No word on a suspect, but there were cameras in that apartment parking lot, and we're told they captured some of what unfolded.
The victim was identified as 34-year-old Charmaine Goodlow, who was taken to a local hospital where she would sadly pass away after succumbing to multiple gunshot wounds. Bullet holes now scar the cars, walls, and windows around the apartments on Buena Vista Pike, marking the aftermath of a terrifying night. A close friend of Charmaine recalls how they sat outside together late that night, enjoying each other's company. Charmaine's friend headed upstairs to her apartment just before midnight, only to be awakened minutes later by the sound of gunfire. It sounded like a war zone. The friend heard screaming and came back outside. She went downstairs to check on Charmaine, and what she found was a horrifying scene. Charmaine bleeding profusely after being shot multiple times in the legs.
She lives above her friend Charmaine Goodlow and says they were sitting outside together late Monday night. April went upstairs just before midnight. Minutes later, she woke up to gunfire.
It sounded like a war zone, and I heard screaming, and I came back outside, and I went down there, and I tried to check on her.
April found her friend bleeding. She'd been shot multiple times in the legs from what police say was more than 50 rounds of bullets. Charmaine was taken to the hospital where she died.
It's been very hard. I miss her. This is weird. It's weird.
April says Charmaine had been on edge since she was shot last year, but she still found the time to go to church and help April through her treatment.
She always made me laugh, especially after dialysis, since I go to dialysis. So she always made me feel better. We always prayed for each other.
This apartment complex is one of the places police are called to the most in Nashville. In the past 12 weeks, they've had 78 calls for service. April says she wants to move.
I definitely don't want to be here no more, but I really don't have a choice right now.
The police report indicated that over 50 rounds had been fired, and Charmaine, despite being rushed to the hospital, succumbed to her injuries. This senseless and unexpected murder has left a deep void in the lives of those who knew her. According to her close friend, Charmaine had been on edge ever since she was shot last year, a traumatic event that shook her deeply. Yet she still remained a source of strength and comfort to her loved ones. The Overlook Ridge apartment complex has a very troubling history. In the past 12 weeks alone, there have been 78 calls for service, making it one of the most frequently policed areas in Nashville. Charmaine's murder marks the fourth homicide in the complex within the last 2 years. With the killer or killers still at large, fear and uncertainty loom over the community. The tragic loss of Charmaine, combined with the constant threat of violence, has left residents desperate for safety and peace. The news of Charmaine's death has left her family in shock. Her brother expressed disbelief, noting how they had hoped that this tragedy would end like the last, where Charmaine pulled through despite the odds. As the family grapples with their loss, they are calling for justice. Her brother urges the community to see his sister as they did, a strong Black woman who was tragically murdered. He pleaded for anyone with information to come forward and help the family find justice, emphasizing that Charmaine did not deserve what happened to her. The Goodloe family, while seeking justice, is not driven by a desire for revenge. Instead, they are committed to finding peace and extending love, reflecting the values that Charmaine lived by.
Charmaine was a very caring person. She loved sports. She played at local school, Hillwood High School.
Charmaine Goodloe was the best big sister Daniel Goodloe could ask for.
She's always about giving back. Even when she didn't have it, she just made a way to give it.
Even giving her heart to someone her family didn't think deserved it. It was March of last year when the family says Charmaine survived being shot several times by an ex-boyfriend. Her body at times weak, but her faith still strong.
I remember one time she went to church and she said, "Dang, I can't raise my right hand, but I can still raise my left and give him glory."
Daniel never imagined a little over a year later and the family would be getting another call that Charmaine was shot.
Never, really. It's just a shock because it's a phone call in the middle of the night. And we thinking that, it's going to be like the last situation, like last year that she pulls through.
This time, she didn't make it.
For someone to have hatred in their heart, to do that, is a tough thing.
Metro Nashville homicide detectives say Charmaine was sitting outside her Buena Vista apartment just before midnight on Monday when gunfire erupted, striking her multiple times in her legs. Officers tried saving her life, but Charmaine died from her injuries at the hospital. So far, no arrest, no word of a suspect. Daniel says they just want justice.
I want them to see my sister as their sister. A strong Black woman that was murdered, and you have information. Help us. Help us find justice because she didn't deserve it.
A GoFundMe was created to raise money for Charmaine's unexpected funeral expenses. As of right now, there have been no arrests in the case, and Charmaine's family, along with law enforcement, are encouraging anyone with information to come forward. The case remains ongoing.